This is Tales from the Pros, where business leaders and influencers share their stories of inspiration, struggles, and successes. And I'm your host, Michael Giorgio. Everyone, welcome to Tales from the Pros, and this is Michael Giorgio, your host and co-founder at Imagine Ovation. My wonderful guest with me here today is the co-founder and CEO of Influence & Co., which is an award-winning Inc. 5000 company and one of the leading content marketing agencies in the market. Starting her entrepreneurial journey at a very young age, she has been able to bootstrap her way to building a company with over 50 full-time employees and working with Fortune 500s by helping them with their content marketing strategies and execution, generating business results. She has also been featured as a Forbes 30 Under 30 in marketing and advertising and EY Entrepreneur of the Year finalist, Columbia Business Times 20 Under 40, and SBA of Missouri's Small Business Person of the Year. Please welcome Kelsey Raymond. Kelsey, I really appreciate you being here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. That was such a generous intro. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Yeah, it's well deserved. I can't imagine the work that you put into to get to this place in your life right now. And I know we all of us have this, aspiring dreams and goals that we want to reach. It's never ever done, right? It's a journey, it's a process, right? But from just everything I've read about you and learning about you and your company, I mean, you've done a lot of amazing things. So congratulations, and I'm really glad that you're here today. So I can talk about your story here. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
So Kelsey, just starting off, can you tell us a little bit about your journey and your story and how you got to where you are today? I know you started the entrepreneurial journey pretty young. Is that right?
Yeah, I think I definitely have a unique journey to entrepreneurship. You mentioned starting young. My mom likes to joke that I probably drove my neighbors crazy because I was always at their door trying to sell them something. Mm-hmm. I think the first thing I ever did was borrow rocks from my neighbor's yard, paint them, and then sell those rocks right back to them. And then I started a neighborhood newsletter when I was around 10 years old. So there was lots of early things. But really my entrepreneurial journey truly began when I was a student at the University of Missouri, or Mizzou. I joined the Entrepreneurship Alliance there, which was just a great opportunity to learn from other business owners. And basically it was a club where every week a business owner would come and really talk to us like this, tell us about their story, the struggles they had. And I was obsessed. I wanted to learn everything that I could. Podcasts weren't as big back then. So that was how I was feeding my seeking knowledge. And so from there, I actually launched a marketing company while I was in school with my best friend. The idea for the company was her idea. I actually just helped execute it. And that is a trend of each of the companies that I've started, that I am not the big idea, big visionary person. Mm-hmm. I've always been the person who says, that's a great idea, let's run with it. And I really enjoy the execution side. So started a small company in college, ended up selling it to a couple other students because it didn't make sense for us to run it after graduating. Then I helped launch a co-working space, an event venue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was a really interesting time because it was in 2010, 2011. And co-working was not incredibly mainstream at that point, but especially not in Columbia, Missouri. So in a smaller, Columbia is about 150,000 people. No one knew what co-working was. So when I was trying to pitch this of, you'll come to this building, you don't have an office, you kind of have a desk, but you can't leave anything there. It's just, you can come and sit there when you want. It was an interesting sales pitch. So I helped get that off the ground. And then right when we were starting that, the individual who had really launched the co-working space, his name's Brent, he came to me with this idea for what would ultimately become Influence & Co. So that was another situation where it was not my idea, but Brent didn't have time to focus on it and run with it. And I said, let me see if this has legs. Mm-hmm. And ultimately it did. And 9 years later, here we are. So my journey was, being surrounded by a lot of smart people and really figuring out how we could actually execute on the great ideas that they had.
That's great. And when did you say Influence & Co started again? Was it
May of 2011?
in 2011? Wow. And it was 100% bootstrapped, right?
So it was a unique way of starting it in that I did not have any funds. I was 22 when we started it. Brent, though, who was the other partner in it, he had some money to invest in it starting out. So we did not raise capital from anyone else or get a bank loan, but Brent, through his other businesses, had some capital to get us started. So it was kind of a unique model in that way. So throughout starting the company, and then I recruited another co-founder, it's a great guy named John. But throughout
John
that,
Paul? Yeah, I've spoken to
yeah,
John.
do you know
Awesome.
John?
Oh,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah,
gosh,
yeah.
of course you do. Who doesn't know John? So throughout that, for the first 7 years of the company, John and I were running the company, but Adventures, which was Brent's company, was ultimately the owner. So John and I had kind of a unique situation. And then in October of 2018, I bought out Adventures' interest in the company. So that was the first time I did have to go out and get a loan and went through the SBA process. So it was an interesting path, not only to entrepreneurship, but then also to actually becoming the majority owner of the company that I had helped start.
Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, just because I definitely know the whole world of bootstrapping, it's tough. I think you get it, right? But for listening to your story, it definitely seems like you bootstrapped. Yeah, you got some help from another, the previous co-founder, but you bootstrapped your way to getting to this place, and then now you're the CEO, right? And you bought out the other owners, and now you're building it. We all know bootstrapping is really tough.
Yep.
Were there any key elements or anything that you did in particular that really helped your bootstrapping process? Did you just continuously market yourselves to become leaders in your space? Because you guys are essentially leaders in the space. I mean, it's crazy. Before I was doing research on you and all that stuff, I've heard of you guys even, I think, years back. So,
that's good to hear.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
We definitely did. And, we used a lot of our own services, and we still do, which is great because it's authentic to, if we're telling other people that this is going to help you grow your brand and grow your business, we better be able to do it for ourselves. So that's been a big part of how we've grown. But I think something early on that we did that was somewhat unique to the agency model is that we hired a sales team, or we hired one full-time salesperson within the first 18 months of the business. And I've talked to a lot of other agency owners who their model is the people managing clients and working with clients also do business development. And we just didn't do it that way, honestly, because John and I didn't come from the agency background. So we didn't know that was the way it had always been done. So we said, if we're going to grow, and we need to grow in order to bootstrap because we need to continuously have revenue coming in to grow, then we need to hire a full-time salesperson. And I think that was really key to our success because it allowed the people working on clients to stay laser focused on how do we deliver for clients and not have that split focus.
It's funny that you say that, Kelsey, because I've come across a lot of companies. We've worked with startups to much larger companies, but especially in the agency world, right? You get shifted all over the place. You being an owner and right, you're all over. You're just like, you have to look at the operations, the finances, the sales, the marketing, then the day-to-day stuff, right? So it's so hard to have that mental shift continuously. It's almost like it can kind of cause sometimes, I don't want to say mental health, but people who can't handle it right, they do struggle with mental health because they're all over the place. So it's good that you found something early to tackle, which was sales, and say, hey, John, we need to hire a full-time salesperson or people to really help us because we don't want to dilute the energy and focus from our other employees. So that's good that you recognize that quickly. That's vital.
And that's been so key, I think, to our success over the years. So another role that we hired for when we were probably, I think, about 20 to 25 employees, we hired a full-time HR person. And that is something that I think a lot of, CEOs wouldn't necessarily say like, oh, that was the thing that catapulted our growth. But for us, it did, because when we hired Courtney, she was able to take away all of these things off of my plate that were the constant little fires that you were needing to put out, and the constant, we have to figure out insurance again and work on this brokerage and all these different things that as the CEO or the COO, if you really need to be focused on growth, things like HR and running payroll can just drain so much of your time.
I know it's so difficult sometimes. I'm actually really happy that you mentioned HR. I think this is going to provide a lot of value to the audience. As I mentioned before, we're all doing so many different things, and sometimes you have to look. Actually, I think more than sometimes, a lot of the time in business, you have to think very macro and not micro. And I know sometimes we're so stuck in the day-to-day, right? How to close the next deal, how to nurture the next customer, what's the next article we have to write, and all these different things, right? But we have to delegate the work accordingly to our people that we trust. So I think hiring people is essential to growing and scaling a company. And that's what I was going to ask you. Actually, my next question was, what were some of the additional things that you did, you and your team did, to scale the company to over 50 people? And sometimes I think when especially for smaller businesses, there's this plateau that you hit of like 2 or 3 million, and it's sometimes very hard to exceed that. So what did you guys do differently to scale operationally and even financially in the industry?
Yeah. So first, financially, so on the revenue side, that is so true. There's certain plateaus that you hit that it's like what was working before isn't working now. And so for us, the first thing we did obviously was hire a full-time salesperson. It wasn't until maybe a year or two later that we said, we also need an in-house marketing team. So we had a couple people kind of doing some marketing for us, and we were using our own services, but not at the scale that we needed to. So when we started actually putting together this inbound machine and this funnel, now, 6 years later, about 80% of our new revenue comes from people who find us through our website because they read an article or listened to us on a podcast, or they were Googling something about content marketing and found us through organic search. So seeing that we made investments early on in creating that whole inbound funnel, we're still getting leads now from articles that we wrote in 2013. So that's been one of those things that it compounds on itself over time. Another thing on the revenue side was
trickle effect. It's like a trickle effect. It just keeps coming later as you put up more content. Yeah.
It's so exciting to me when I see leads that come from articles so long ago. We had one the other day that she referred to me as Kelsey Meyer, and I was like, where did she get that? And then I realized, the article she read was written before I was married and I had a different last name. So that just kind of made me realize how long ago some of this content was written. But the other thing that we did on the revenue side to catapult that growth is get a lot more intentional about asking our clients for referrals and reaching out to our partners, because we would hear all the time, you guys are doing great work, we love working with you. But sometimes people just it's not top of their mind to refer you to someone else. So we just started getting a little bit more templated and strategic about making those asks. And now a big percentage of our new revenue comes from client referrals as well, which is great. On the operational side, that's where I think scaling is harder. To me, finding new business revenue, we've been able to do that. Scaling from 10 people to 30 people to 50 people, there's always these kind of points where you realize what was working before isn't working now. So the first one for us, I would say, was in 2015. Our team was structured into silos. So we had an account management team and a content strategy team and an editing team, and they weren't all working on the same groups of clients. It was just creating tension that didn't need to be there, and it was slowing things down. So we completely restructured our entire team, moved people into account teams where there's 3 to 5 people working on a group of clients together. 5 years later, we look at that and we're like, how did we ever survive in that former structure? So, being willing to kind of completely break apart how your team is structured at different points And then also for us, scaling communication has been really important to, what different tools are we using? So we use 15.5, which is a really quick reporting tool on a weekly basis. Now we send out a weekly email every Wednesday that has updates from every single department head. We do, Zoom Q&As with the team now that we're virtual. So just really, as we've scaled, thinking of all the different ways we're communicating with the team is so important.
Mm-hmm. And going back to your sales process, do you guys have more of an automated machine? I know a lot of the inbound leads are coming in from Google, let's just say, for example, and they're converting on your website, right? And once you get those leads, what do you do with them? How do you guys, I know automation probably is a piece of it, but you add the human element to it, right?
I think adding the human element is the most important part. So, we're not selling widgets. So someone's not just going to come to our website and click buy. There needs to be some level of consultation and some level of us figuring out what are their needs and how can we best service them. So when someone comes to our website, let's say they fill out a contact form. That contact form then goes to this wonderful woman on our team, Cherish, and Cherish reads it and makes sure, okay, this does look like someone that would be a qualified lead. If they're asking for a service we don't provide, she just emails them back and points them in a different direction. But if it does look like they're looking for something that we provide, she sends a customized email back to them. So the automation part comes in when, if they don't respond, Cherish has kind of a sequence of emails that go out to them, or if they just download something but don't fill out a contact form, they'll get put on an automated email list. So there's two different ways, but when someone is filling out a contact form, they're getting a customized email from Cherish. Then we also use automation. We use HubSpot's platform.
That's what we do.
Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah. So you know all of this. So for your listeners, the viewers, with HubSpot's platform, they have a feature where you can qualify people over time. So for us, we've set up rules where if they read, 4 blog posts, or if they open the emails this many times, it's a signal to us that this person is engaged with our content. They are reading more, wanting to know more. So once they hit a certain threshold of points, it sends Cherish a notification that this person is ready for you to reach out with a customized message. So then again, she does some research and she emails them trying to get on a phone call, but it's all customized to their company, what they've read on our site. It's using that human element a lot more.
Wow, this advice is awesome. This is going to help, Kelsey, this is going to help so many people. I think we're in this era right now where automation is definitely important. There's a lot of AI out there, and it's actually it's increasing, right? And there's just, the technology is evolving, it's expanding, it's increasing. It's quite honestly, it's very hard to keep up with it. There's just so much going on right now, right? It's almost becoming very saturated, very cluttered. So sometimes it's creating more chaos than actually streamlining processes and making it easier for us, right? Because there's almost too many choices. But the advice that you've given just now, I think is going to help a lot of people, because you're connecting the human aspect of sales and marketing to the automation piece. I think automation can help a lot of us in terms of, some of that work, a little bit of the grunt work, instead of following up, right? You can send these little personalized emails, right? Yeah. But you can never stop being human.
Exactly.
Right? You have to continuously add that and show them that you're interested. And it's that you added, you talked about that during the entire sales process, and that's great. And you guys do discoveries too, right? That's pretty much, that's something that we do. Like, it helps to vet the understand and plan for the project. Is that something you guys do as well?
Yes. So once someone has responded to Cherish and says, I'm open to a call, she sets up a call with someone on our sales team. So it's also interesting. We have the roles pretty segmented because Cherish is great at that part. And our salespeople are great at being on the phone. So having people operate in their strength areas, but we always do a discovery conversation first to really understand what are their goals and can they be accomplished through content marketing. And a big part of that is we're wanting to understand what other elements are they already doing? So do they have a sales team? Do they have a marketing automation software that we can tap into to make sure we're tracking the success of all of this content? So really making sure, are they primed to be able to actually get great results from content marketing? And our sales process normally involves 3 or even 4 different calls. And part of that is that we know that the clients that stick with us for years and years are the ones where we go deep into discovery and expectations during the sales process, so that once they're bought in, we all are on the exact same page of what we can accomplish together. And if we have a client who we have one 20-minute call with and they're like, cool, send me a contract, that's when things fall apart during the working together as clients, because we didn't take the time to truly get on that same page from the beginning. So I think we might frustrate some leads when we're like, let's have another call, but it's worked out well for us in the long run.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to content, we'll jump to content a little bit. I love talking about content marketing. With content, let's just discuss more of what you guys offer, right? Thought leadership, writing for top third-party publications, right? For example, what we've done in my company, like we write for, I contribute to Forbes and to, Entrepreneur Magazine and all of that. How do you guys drive business results from, allowing your customers or getting your customers to become authors on those platforms? How does that process work for you guys?
Yeah. So with our clients, a lot of them have different goals. So their goal might be straight lead generation. Like, how do I get more people to come to my website, fill out a contact form? Others might be that they already have a great funnel on their site. They need more people to find them through organic search. So how is all of this affecting their SEO? Others might be that they're actually not really converting that many people from on their website, so they need these articles to more be used for sales enablement. So when we get an article published, their sales team then uses that in their outreach to kind of have a reason to reach out to someone to say, hey, we thought you might be interested in this article that our CEO wrote. So depending on kind of which of those, or maybe all 3 are their goals, we devise a strategy. But a big thing that we've realized and we talk to clients about now is you're never going to see results from just the offsite content. So if a client comes to us and says, I have one of these goals, I just want to focus in 2 articles a month in top tier publications, great, we can do that, but you're not going to see the results that you want, because it really is a more comprehensive strategy. Because if somebody reads one article from you in Forbes, they're probably going to come to your website. If you don't have any blog content, or you have no way for them to give you their contact information, or you don't have an email nurture campaign. So all of those things have to be working in conjunction in order to actually see new leads or new sales driven from it.
Yeah, and I think it's good for many of the listeners and viewers to know that there are 2 huge elements in SEO, right? It's on page and off page. I think being in content and SEO for a long time, you probably have had some interaction with people and even clients that say, oh, I just want to blog on the website. That's just not going to do it. Or just to optimize the keywords on the website, right? You got to do everything, and you got to do it consistently.
Yes.
Right. So I'm sure you guys do. Do you guys do a lot of the on-site SEO, the technical SEO, or just more the content, the creative pieces?
Yeah, we do both. So any client that comes to us with SEO being a goal, we start with a technical audit, because unfortunately what we've seen is that we had some clients where we could be creating the best on-site and off-site content in the world, but if they had some major issues with their site from a technical standpoint that was affecting the ability for their site to be crawled or their load time, then all of our work was not going to be super effective. So we do a technical audit, then we do keyword research, we do reporting on a quarterly basis. And now ultimately, even if SEO is not the main priority, SEO matters for 99% of our clients. So it's always involved to some extent in the strategy.
When do you start to actually see results? So if you sign, let's just say you sign a big client, actually, I would say let's do a more of a startup. Okay.
Okay.
Work with a startup. Because I was going to say maybe like Nestle, but they're already branded. They're already considered a brand from Google, right? But more of a startup. How long would it take you after your discovery, after your strategy, and when you start to execute? When would they start to actually see results from Google and from digital media?
Yeah, so on the SEO side, there are so many different things that could affect that depending on the industry. I don't want to be tied to any specific number, but I would say we would never tell them less than 6 months because you need to get a specific consistency of content coming out. Now, we have clients that in the first quarterly report, we're seeing huge spikes in traffic, but that would be the anomaly because you need time for those things to actually make changes. Now, on the side of, if they're using this content in sales enablement, for example, we've had clients where we produce the first few pieces of content, their sales team are using that to reach out to their network and they're getting on more calls right away. So depending on how you're using the content and what your goals are, it might be those first couple pieces of content are incredibly valuable, or in our experience, at least with setting up Influence and Co's funnel, it took a year before we were really seeing just this consistent flow of leads. And we tell clients that you do not expect, if you're doing a full inbound marketing campaign, don't expect this to happen overnight. But the exciting part is the money you're investing now, like I said, we see leads from 6 years ago still coming through our website. So it really builds on itself over time.
Kelsey, you're 100% right. And it's funny that you say this because we're actually a really great case study because we've done exactly that. Me and my marketing team, we've basically written hundreds of pieces of content. We've written probably over the last 9 years, written over 2,000 blogs on the website. Write one article per week. And then we contribute to a lot of third-party publications, optimize our website. And with all of that and with a lot of consistency, your rankings, they do go up over time. Time frames are very difficult to say because it depends on the keywords you're tackling, the competition, the location. There's a lot of different factors, but what you guys are doing is awesome. Like, you're exactly right. I mean, inbound right now is the most, in my opinion, I know your opinion, it's the most powerful funnel. I know I've interacted with some companies that they're like, oh, we're making sales calls, 200 calls a day. I'm just like, no, like that's such a grind. To make 200, 300 calls a day. Like, you guys should be putting all of that effort in creating content. And I will talk to them.
And let people come to you.
Yes, 100%.
Well, one thing that we're seeing is so interesting right now is obviously because of COVID, a lot of conferences and events have been canceled. And so we have some people coming to us and saying, hey, we have a $50,000 budget that we were going to spend on a trade show, a booth at this one conference. What can you do with that? And we're like, we can do so much and we can actually show you results. So I think that I'm excited to see potentially a result of, all these conferences being canceled is some people seeing those marketing dollars shifting more to digital where you can see more of an actual result. So we've been excited to work with some companies that were like, oh, you have no idea how much money you were wasting on the event side of things. Let's give you a machine that actually works.
Have you seen anything happen with LinkedIn in regards to lead generation? Do you think LinkedIn is pretty powerful? I'm on LinkedIn a lot.
Yeah. So I kind of two different sides of it. I have a friend that runs a company called Linked Selling, and he is much more of an expert in this. You should have him on. His name's Josh Turner. But he's much more of an expert on this than I am. But his company, and we've used them, we've been clients of theirs a couple times to actually do like outreach into people's inboxes. And what we've seen there is that, again, just a cold note, a cold outreach, not great, but if you're sharing some piece of content that you've created, some, report, white paper, study, that those had better success for us. The way that we use LinkedIn now is all the articles that I'm writing for our blog, that we're doing guest contributed articles, we republish them on LinkedIn. with obviously a link and denoting where it was originally published. And we've seen some success from that. So some traffic back to our site, some leads converting. But I don't think we've been as strategic and used it to its full benefit. So I'm curious, is that a strategy that you guys are using?
I would say it's been almost the same.
Okay.
We're using a tool now, and this I think can provide a lot of value as well. It's called Meet Alfred. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
So you can create different campaigns where you can basically. So we'll create something. For example, we've worked with a lot of construction companies. Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So a lot of them, they need digital transformation and applications and all that. So what we would do is this tool actually will target, you set up your targeting on Sales Navigator, it connects with Sales Navigator on LinkedIn, and it'll basically, it's a desktop application that's always running, and it connects with these people very strategically. Like LinkedIn, you got to be very, very careful because it can actually ban you if you try to connect with
overdo it.
200 people a day or whatever it may be. I mean, you're going to get an email and be like, you can't use LinkedIn for 6 months, or like, you're just be like, no, but no, so very careful. Yeah, exactly. None of us want that, but it's a really cool tool, Meet Alfred, and it basically, you target your audience. Marketing is all about targeting, right? So you target the right audience. Let's just say directors of IT for construction companies, or CMOs of construction companies. So I'll connect with them through this tool, and you write your own emails, template emails, and just be very, very personable. Don't ask for anything. We just try to give. It's all about serving, giving. So we have articles that relate to, let's just say, top digital transformation trends in the construction sector. Yeah. Right. So we'll put that article into that direct message after they've accepted my request, and then they'll just say, thank you, Michael, we really appreciate that. And then when I start posting content myself, like personal branding content about just business advice, inspiration, I put videos, and I usually put 1 post per day on LinkedIn, and then they start to see our content. But have we seen direct results, leads from it? No. I think we only just started that process maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago. So it just takes time. You just got to be consistent.
Well, I think that what you said, I completely agree with on the give. And that's what we really talk to our clients about, is that content marketing should be the giving type of marketing. We are not going to work with clients on just creating super promotional content. And one of those reasons is that the publications we're pitching it to will not publish it. So if we try to pitch an editor at Ad Age on our client's article of like why you should hire this agency, there's no chance. But if it is something where they're educating and they're giving back to their audience, people appreciate that, and that builds trust. And so we're definitely on the same page that like being giving in your marketing is the best thing you can do to build trust over time.
It really is, Kelsey. You're spot on. I call it the give back approach, and Google actually recognizes that you have to serve your community and your audience, right? And this is what you guys do. And I think that's probably, if not the most important aspect of increasing your rankings. And it's not even just that. Like, you listen to guys like Gary Vaynerchuk, we all know him, right? Yep. All these thought leaders, they talk about giving and serving your community without always expecting something in return, but you will get something in return because you're giving to people. And they're going to remember you, and you're going to build trust and thought leadership and credibility in the market. So it's just,
I think that now with everything going on with COVID, like that's even more important. And that was something that we saw, when we had clients at the beginning of all of this, when all the shit was kind of hitting the fan, we had clients come to us and say, I'm sorry, but we've been told by our CFO we need to cut all marketing spend.
Oh, and the worst decision you can make to cut your marketing.
It's hard for us to hear, but to some of those clients, we said, you've been great partners. We'll keep doing work for you for a couple months. You don't have to pay us. We're going to keep doing work. We'll just push this payment a couple months down the road because we know that this is what you need. And we know that when you're in a better spot, you'll come back to us. And they did. They've come back, and they've even grown their accounts with us. So for us, like seeing that in that moment, we could have pulled out the contract and said, well, actually, you have to pay us for this many more months. being giving really had a better return for us.
That's so important that you said that. I know a lot of us right now, we're struggling. We're thinking almost, we're going back to the micro thinking, right? We're like, oh no, some of our clients have stopped work, or some of the leads haven't moved forward. They're, because all the craziness going on right now. But you guys are thinking very macro, and this is proving your success is being proven, and you guys are going to continue to grow because you're thinking long term, right? Mm-hmm. You just said that you push back some payments with, for clients. Yeah. And when they start making money again, you best believe that they're going to work with you immediately, because they're like, you know what, Kelsey and her team, I mean, they work with us when we were really struggling. Yeah. They're our number one, they're going to be a priority for us when we start to get our budget in place and start making more money.
And we've already seen some of that, which is it's just reassuring that you can actually have trust, put your faith in people sometimes.
Absolutely. No, that's great advice. So if we, I know in the beginning, we talked a little bit about storytelling, right? I love storytelling. This is a special topic for me. And this is the whole basis of Tales from the Pros. How have you guys used storytelling for your own personal branding, your company branding, as well as the thought leadership, the creative pieces that you're developing for your clients? Yeah, I'm sure you guys use a lot of storytelling.
We do. And part of that is, I think, the best stories come from personal experiences. So anything we can do, and you'll see if you read our blog, a lot of the content that we're creating is using ourselves as case studies. So saying, how did we improve our search rankings? But it's not just here's the stats. It's here's how we were feeling. Here's the challenges we were facing. And here's what we talked about as a group. And kind of, we came up with this great idea and here's how it worked. So kind of telling those narratives, you can incorporate even, storytelling elements into something as dry as SEO results. And then with our clients, it's so much fun to really interview them and pull some of those stories out. Because we have some clients that, they'll say, oh, I don't know how we're going to make this really boring industry interesting. And we're always like, ooh, that's our favorite thing to do. So realizing that every person has a story, it's just about asking the right questions. And so we are in Columbia, Missouri, home to the University of Missouri's journalism program, which is one of the top programs in the country. So we've hired a lot of people out of that program, hired a lot of former journalists. And they're fantastic at storytelling, and they know how to ask those right questions. So that's been something that I think has really been key in writing some great content with our clients.
It really is about the emotional piece, isn't it? Right? Because I think you see a lot of content and websites, or we've seen before, that they're very black and white.
Yep.
Right? You can almost feel it when you're reading the content. You're like, okay, they're just trying to pitch me. They're trying to sell me, right? This is not providing a lot of value to me. Like, cool, all right, there's a little bit of information, statistics, and all of that, but this is not really serving me, right? Yep. So storytelling is so important because you have to add that emotional element. And we talked about humanization in business, right? As part of sales. Same thing with marketing. Storytelling adds that emotional, personal element to these pieces that you and your team are writing. And that's going to touch people, right? That's going to touch their hearts, essentially.
We have seen the best results from when, for our own content or with clients, people are willing to get really vulnerable. So an article that I wrote earlier this year was about learning to say no, and kind of the situation that I was in that was forcing me to have that learning is I was really sick throughout my pregnancy. And so this article, I just laid it out there. I'm like, I was walking into the office, throwing up. I was sick every single day, and it was emotional, honestly, just working with the marketing team and writing it. But the number of messages and notes that I've had from people, people that I know, people I don't know, people connected with it because it was honest and it was vulnerable. And so that's really what we're trying to get clients to do more, is like, tell us about the rough times. People can read about business success all they want, but they learn from the rough times. So let's try to dig into that more.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh, I love to hear it. This is, I have so much passion around this topic. I love it. I think we definitely need to be more vulnerable. And I think brands need to be more vulnerable. I know that a lot of us Kelsey, I'm sure you can vouch for this, right? That we're afraid to present the challenges that we've experienced, right? It's hard to overcome that fear and let it go, and recognize and let it go, and say, me and my company experienced this, and we're better for it, or we're still going through it. No one's gonna make fun of you, and if they do, or they try to bully you on LinkedIn or all these platforms, cool. At least you're getting attention. Attention's good, right? But most people won't do that. They're gonna build trust with you, and they're gonna actually, if anything, it's gonna resonate with them.
Especially when you can touch on what you learned from an experience and how you're operating differently in the future because of it. Because, I hear a ton, you see this all over LinkedIn and everywhere, like, oh, we're crushing it, we're killing it, everything's great. And just running a business, that is not always true for every single business owner. And so, when that's all you ever see from someone, that there's things they're not sharing. And that's the thing to me that makes me trust them less. So when people are open and vulnerable with the challenges and what they've learned, I trust them because I see that they're evolving as a person and evolving as a company. If we never talked about anything that we learned from, we would probably still be the company that we were 9 years ago. And we're way better than that now because we're open about our challenges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I actually was interviewed, excuse me, I was interviewed from an editor for Founder magazine. You've heard of Founder? Yeah. And it was a very vulnerable piece. And I was telling her a lot of the challenges that my company, Imagine Innovation, went through. And we went up and down. 1 year we lost over $1 million, and then we went up to 2.3 million. And then I was talking a lot about even finances and operations and just things that people really keep to themselves. They don't want to disclose any of that, right? And just different challenges that I experienced, and paying ourselves $1,000 a month for the first 3 to 4 years of starting the company, and you go through it. I mean, at the end of the day, I think people need to understand that you're going to invest your time, effort, and money, resources into other people. At the end of the day, even if you're going to buy a product, you're purchasing or buying that product to serve your customers, right? So at the end of the day, it's about the end user. It's about people. And I think sometimes we forget that. We're so stuck in making money and generating results, and then we forget the human aspect of business and about why we're actually doing this. Like, why are we even here sometimes, It's good to go back to that why and understand that at the end of the day, people are not going anywhere. It's not going to be robots. Yeah, there might be some robotic, AI, for example. There's going to be a lot of automation, things happening, but people are not going to go anywhere, So we need to really grasp that and allow that to be a part of our company's culture and the way we operate mentally and just the way we run a business.
That is so aligned with the vision that I always share with the team, which is that we can be a company that is financially healthy because we put our people first and deliver great results for clients. So it's, yes, we want to be a financially healthy company. That's important. We want you all to have jobs and good paying jobs. We don't think we can do that unless we put our people first. And so that is so key to being successful as a company.
Mm-hmm. And in your experience, Kelsey, for content marketing or even marketing in general, where do you see it headed? I know we talked about storytelling. I think that's going to continuously evolve, and that's going to be a huge part of its future and its growth. But is there anything else that you see as the future of digital marketing, content marketing?
Yeah, I think that one thing that has been kind of a trend for the last couple of years that I think is going to just continue even more is this idea that all of your marketing elements have to be working in conjunction. So I feel like, we're a content marketing company. We don't manage our clients' social media. We don't run their events. But more and more we're realizing we have to be working with the people who do, because it all plays into each other. And I think there's still some, especially big companies, that have the different types of marketing so siloed that they lose out on a lot of the kind of compounding effects of having everything following this one strategy. So that's something that I think even smaller companies, a lot of them are not documenting and putting together a comprehensive content marketing strategy. It's let's do a blog post here, a white paper here. Hopefully we'll get some good SEO rankings. So making things a lot more comprehensive and strategies working in conjunction, I think, is one aspect. The other, I think we're going to see a lot more of a focus on companies' blogs turning more into like industry publications. So we used to have clients who would say, oh, we want your help with our blog. And when we looked at their current blog, it'd be like a product update and a post about the company picnic. And we're like, this is great, but who's the audience for this? Is it just your current customers or your current employees? And so now looking at, and I think your blog is a good example of this, the blog being an educational resource for people in the industry, some of which might become clients of yours, but really operating it like this is a publication to educate people, not just to bring us leads. And I think those end up actually bringing in more business in the long run.
I love it. I always tell this to my marketing team. I always say, guys, when we're going to write a blog piece on our website for the week, let's just say forget about lead generation. Don't even make that your intention. We can optimize it. We can optimize the blog. We will, distribute it, republish it, repurpose it, all of that, to reach and drive traffic to the blog, and let the blog do the work. Let the blog provide a lot of purpose and value and education, insight, even to the point where it's inspirational to them, right? I think it comes back to our intentions, right? Our motives before writing something, before running a business, right? It comes down to that why. And that, I think that gives that portrays a lot of powerful emotions to the person reading it. They're like, wow, I really love this. Who is this company? And then they say, oh, I want this. You know what I mean? So that's what I've experienced. It's pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah. And I would say in that same vein, we talk about like, give away the secret sauce. Like we talk about everything that we do in our blog. We tell clients, like, if you want to, we are literally giving you the framework to go do this for yourselves. We still think you should hire us because it's going to take you a ton of time, money, resources. You're not going to do it as well, but we will teach you. You can use our blog and literally learn how to do everything that we do, because that is truly what is being educational to those in your industry.
Love it. Love it. You're dropping a lot of jewels today. Dropping a lot of bombs, Kelsey.
Well, this is fun. We definitely are on the same wavelength.
It is. Absolutely. So, all right. So to close things off here, I always ask one final question, okay?
Okay.
In regards to your story, if you had to define your story, it could be your career, it could be life. I'll let you choose.
Yeah.
How would you define your story in one word? In one word.
Oh, curious.
Curious. Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you choose curious? Just
because I think
I'm curious.
One thing that has been key to the success that I've had thus far is I am just a very curious person. I don't have one specific expertise area that I'm just great in. I just want to learn a lot about a lot of different areas. And I think that has been key to running a business, key to working with so many different clients, key to being able to scale and manage a team, because I'm curious about people. So, I've done a few interesting things, and it's all just because I'm really curious and I want to keep learning and educating myself.
That's so cool. I love it. I don't think I've had that one word on the podcast yet.
Yay!
I love hearing your stuff. Sometimes I hear, my one word is perseverance. So that's mine. But I've heard perseverance. I've heard success. I've heard, all these different words. But yeah, never curious. I was like, I'm curious to hear about why you chose that. Oh, that's cool. So Kelsey, this has been, this has been amazing. I really appreciate you. And I'm really thankful and humbled that you've taken the time to speak with me today. And
thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So where can everyone find you? Your website, your social media?
Yeah, our website is influenceandco, and spelled out, .com. Our Twitter is influence _, so influence and co, but the ampersand. And then I'm on LinkedIn, Kelsey Raymond, and yeah, happy to connect with anyone.
Well, everyone, check out this episode. I think you're going to really find a lot of value and inspiration from it. So I really appreciate everything, Kelsey. Thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you. This was fun.
Absolutely. So thank you, everyone, for listening. And again, this is your host, Michael Giorgio, on Tales from the Pros. And until next time, thanks, guys.
Please subscribe to our YouTube page and also follow our social media. There are links somewhere around here, but we really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for all the support, and I'm going to be giving you awesome content continuously, and we look forward to seeing you soon.